Greetings and welcome to another impromptu Warhammer 40,000 kill team video. I'm going over the latest balanced Dataslate. It's great. I've just woken up. I hope I'm wrong on everything. But before we get into things, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought. Do you like the changes with the balanced Dataslate? All that kind of stuff. Let me know. And remember, I've got a Discord you can check down in the episode description below. This was an affiliate link to Element Games. This was a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. But let's quickly get into this nice balanced Dataslate update. As you know, it's been 3 months and they come every 3 months. So it's kind of right. It was going to come, but it's kind of like, it's not really a magic thing. They've just been really fixed with their time frames, which is good. So let's see what they changed and not changed. And once again, really hope I'm wrong on everything. It'd be great for me. So let's get into it. All right, so the balanced Dataslate has been updated and you can find this on Warhammer Community. So we'll go through this, going down and ascending. I've already read the article, which is good. So it's given us some aforementioned information. But let's blind react into this. This should be great. So we've got no core rules changes. Equipment has been the same. No more kill teams have been replaced. So the first change is the critical operations update the missions. So last time we had capture and secure increased to 16 victory points, and this time loot has been changed. So you can now loot objectives a maximum of 4 times instead of 3. You know, this is one of the things I was expecting because it's odd they kind of forgot loot last 3 months ago. And, you know, even though I prefer loot where you can't loot turning point 1, I think just looting every turn, like so you can effectively loot every turning point, is fine. It's a good fix because it mirrors the other missions. Because the main problem we had with loot, it was all about alpha striking in terms of looting first and then playing the mission. So turning point 4 was just basically you either ran away or tried to kill the opponent, you know, like what was left, because you couldn't, everything was basically looted. So at least now you can loot everything 4 times. There's some length to the mission instead of this being a weird 3-round mission. But, you know, whatever change they were going to do, I'm glad it's changed. That's a good change there. So next, we have no changes to Void Dancer Troop because they're a completely fine kill team. So that's great to see. Love that. But we've got Warp Coven changes, which is good. I thought Warp Coven were going to get a change. So I thought, you know, something simple, just +1 operative, but Games Workshop have done something, once again, way better. I didn't realize they would go this far, which is really, really good. So Rubric Marines, they have become free APL base and for attacks base as well, which is really good. It mirrors other Marines because the main problem they had, they were just kind of worse Marines, right? So the thing that's changed now, when a Rubric Marine doesn't start its activation within red of another sorcerer, you subtract 1 from its APL. So they kind of still need to stay close to their sorcerers. Unfortunately, they still have the limitation of they can't move more than red during their activation, which is kind of depressing, but that's fair, right? So the good thing is now Rubric Marines are free APL, they're 4 attack space. The only main limitation is that they don't start within sorcerers, they're 2 APL, and they're still affected by their movement. Does this kind of help them? It's a nice help, but I think the problem is, I don't know, it's weird. Like, Into the Dark, this is great, because Into the Dark, you get a huge benefit from actually just running Rubric Marines, but on open, it's really weird. They kind of feel like they're missing something on open, but Into the Dark, Warp Coven are great. I think this is a good change, but we'll have to see how it works. I'm not sure it's actually going to help too much because I think adding an extra operative and like the choice of taking an extra rubric or 2 extra angles probably would have been more beneficial. But I'm glad they've just made Rubric Marines effectively proper Marines. That's a good change, but changed I don't think would do too much in the future. But I like these kind of changes. I much prefer balanced, measured buffs into the crazy buffs we got before. All right, so Elucidian Starstrider's got a buff, which is really weird because they've been doing really well. So the funny thing with Elucidian Starstriders, we had a lot of people like bemoaning that they were going to be useless and really bad with their nerfs. That they've actually been doing really well. They've been hitting the high end of 55% on their win rates. They've been doing really well at events, but they've gotten a buff, which is really strange. And so Voidman, the rotor cannon, now gains Relentless again, which is really bad. Like, just give it Ceaseless. I really question this kind of buff. The article. Let's go. I'll just quickly read the article. Yeah, so they said they want to increase their offensive potential. Why not just give them Ceaseless? This is really bizarre. Like, this feels like someone or people like who were testing or whatever would just like couldn't win anymore and then wanted the kill team to get this buff back when Relentless was a problem on the rotor cannon. So like, I thought Ceaseless would be a good rule. This is a very not good buff because it's quite worrying. Like this buff is kind of like this is like a yellow/red card. So I'm not really happy with that. I think Ceaseless would have been a fine compromise because, as I said, this kill team has been doing pretty good overall. It's just because with the previous buffs, when they had all that damage negation and stuff, and all their assets were hitting on freeze, they were just kind of dominating. And, you know, as I said, everyone thought they would be rubbish. Well, not everyone. A lot of their players thought they would be rubbish once they lost all of that, and they've actually been doing pretty well. So this is a really questionable buff. Doesn't feel like it's actually driven by any sort of actual data and more feelings, but it is what it is. So next we have a change to Intercession squad. So the interesting thing, they're now under season 2. Before they were like under like just in season 1, but they're now season 2 kill team, which is fine. So they've actually updated them. Once again, something I never expected, because if you're unaware, Intercession squad are the most popular kill team and they podium really, really well. They still win the most events and get second and third the most. So I'll quickly go to the Warhammer community download site because they've actually updated the PDF again. And look, it's the amazingness from PDF rules. So let's check that out. So from the article, they found that a lot of new players were struggling to deal into Intercession, which is actually not a lie. But they've changed Rapid and Methodical because they were quite overwhelming, which, especially for Methodical, wasn't 100% true. So for Rapid, this is now changed so you only get the black extra movement when you perform a normal move, right? So no longer when you charge. So you can't do your YOLO 9-inch charges. So that's an interesting change, and I think I like it, but it's kind of not really what made the kill team crazy. Like this is a confusing one because the models that got the most out of Rapid were the shooting guys, because they could move 10 inches or 7 inches and then double fire, because that extra inch gives you a lot of extra movement. But I do like this change. So it's not making Rapid useless. It's making it worse for your melee operatives. So, you know, like your Plasma Pistol Sergeant doesn't really like this, but then your Doom Bolter guy, you know, Doom Bolter Sergeant just goes, wow, this is great. I love this so much. But it does mean the kill team loses a lot of reach for charges. So that's actually an important change. So I think I like that. And then if you look at Methodical, so Methodical has been changed to now you just don't worsen the ballistic skill when you make overwatches. So you no longer just ignore being injured and all penalties to your ballistic skill, all that kind of stuff. So that is actually really nice. That is a great change. I love this 100%. This is amazing. I didn't even think we'd get something like this, because the main problem we had with Methodical is it's a really good chapter tactic. But the problem with Methodical is Into the Dark, you have Marines always hitting on freeze, always overwatching on freeze, and they just kind of shut down a lot of kill teams just because they go into a room and like they go, move in, open the door, guard, move in, guard, like, and they just shut down a room. So you just kind of go, okay, I can't get that objective anymore. I have to hope I win initiative and charge before you can go on guard. But this is really cool. I think this is it. So the thing is, it still means they're quite good at guarding, but now they can be injured. It means they have to pay a CP now for and they shall know no fear. So it helps because like too many kill teams have immune to injury. So now that aspect has gone. I really like that. So that's a good change there. Now we have a change to the Exaction squad, and I'm hoping I'm entirely wrong here, and it looks like I mostly am. This is great. So firstly, they've added the following sentenced to ruthless efficiency. So in addition, if the target operative is within white of another friendly operative, that ranged weapon has the P1 critical rule for that shooting attack. So remember, for ruthless efficiency, you can shoot at enemy operatives within red, even if they're in engagement range. So basically, if someone's in engagement range, you can move and like, well, when you're shooting, as long as you're within white of a friendly operative, when you shoot someone, you get piercing. So that's actually pretty cool. You know, you've got a lot of rerolls in the kill team. So having 4/4 shotguns going to AP1 on a crit, pretty good. Everyone getting +1 wounds. I think everyone saw that coming. That's not really a surprise. And then the following weapons gain the lethal 5-up special rule. The dog's bite, the marksman's shotgun, which is your sniper, and the revelatum scoped pistol. This is better. I mean, never take the dog. You really don't want the dog. So that's not great. I think hitting on freeze would have been better. I mean, +1 to hit for all of these operatives would have been much better. The revelatum, it's a nice buff, but it just means on a crit you do 1 mortal wound, you know? It's not like 3 mortal wounds, but it's just kind of, And I think the marksman really should have hit on 2s as a sniper. So, I mean, it's a nice change. And like normally with old operatives who had 3 mortal wounds on a crit, you would go, this is great. But these guys do 1 mortal wound, like the marksman and revelatum, so it's not really the best of changes, but at least it's a change, you know. And maybe they were actually wary of giving them +1 to hit, and you know, I'm okay with that. I'm completely fine. Then the execution order tactical ploy is now 0 CP plus, so it costs 1 CP each time you use it. So the first time it's free, second time it's 1 CP, and so on. So this is the tactical ploy where when your leader is activated, select 1 enemy operative in its line of sight. Until the end of the battle, each time a friendly operative fights in combat or makes a shooting attack against the operative in the roll attack dice step of the shooting or combat, you can reroll any of all of your dice. Can only use this once, but that's now changed. So some nice accuracy, but this kill team does have a lot of accuracy, so I guess it helps with the gunners, but effectively, you know, it helps more against elites because turning point 1, you go, I don't like you, for free. And then turning point 2, I don't like you, for a cost of 1. So you can actually go through that quite quickly, which is nice, right? So you now can use it twice for 1 CP instead of once for 1 CP. So that's pretty good. That's a nice change. Now we've got a change to the Hearthkyn Salvagers. So they said they're kind of too new, but their faction ability doesn't make sense because it was done as a general to the balanced data slate. And an interesting thing, they've kind of gone with something I've requested for a long time, where operatives are actually not 2 white movement, they're 5-inch movement. So now when a Hearthkyn Salvager does a normal move, they get black to their movement. So effectively everyone is movement 5, so 5 inches, and the jump pack warrior is movement 7, so they can move 7 inches. I think this is a great change. As you can see, they've been quite restrained and made sure this only works on normal move actions, so it doesn't work on charges. But as Hearthkyn players will especially attest, an extra inch adds so much. But this is actually a really good change. I'm not worried that the accuracy hasn't been buffed. I mean, I was expecting them all to get +1 wound, but I guess they want to hold off on that for now, which is fair because they said they want more data. But I think for the future, because before I said that grudge tokens should give +1 to hit, I think a better way of grudge tokens working is if grudge tokens allow you to change a hit into a crit or a miss into a hit. So that way you kind of get around hitting on 4s. And it really is quite potent for someone who has several grudge tokens on them. And I think that would be a really good change. So them going to 8 wounds and that change to grudge tokens would be perfect. But for now, honestly, this movement buff is great. It doesn't help their charges, but they don't really want to charge anyway. But that's a good change there. And then look, we've got a change for Ashes of Faith, the Chaos Cult. The Iconarch Ruinous Invigoration ability. So that is while you're within 4 inches, so 2 white of an Iconarch, you friendly operatives take -1 damage to a minimum of 3 instead of a minimum of 2. And that's all the changes. Because there's not enough data, which is funny because a lot of the changes that have been done here have been done in ignorance of data, so it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, it's as I predicted because Felgor's Ravagers, Iconarch, Chaos Cult, and Inquisition are released too soon, so they can't do anything. That actually kinda isn't enough data. We only have 3 to 4 weeks of data, and well, more for the Gallowful kill teams. But well, I'll get to that in the review. So let's go back to the camera. So for the balanced data slate overview, I really like it because it didn't use most of my changes. This is amazing. Thank you, Games Workshop. I'm not a playtester. Please stop saying I am. I like the change to loot. I think loot is a good change. I think the Intercession squad change is amazing. I did not expect them doing anything else to Intercession. This is really good. Legionary players are like, yes, that's how it feels. That's how it feels. No, that's really good. Rubrics, like Warp Coven got a nice buff. And that's something I call, like, as I said, it's more of a restrained buff. I was expecting +1 operatives, but making rubrics actually feel like Marines, that's a good change. I think it's going to help on Into the Dark. On Open, maybe not, because once again, they're still limited to moving red for their entire activation. But it's nice. It gives you actually some flexibility, and I think Warp Coven players will like it anyway, so that's pretty good. Hearthkyn Salvagers, that's a nice change as a more of like compensatory, well, you know, we write things like months to a year, like years in advance, so kind of you already have that rule in general, so we'll give you a little booster right now, like a booster seat, because they're short, but the extra black of movement is great, only on normal moves, remember, on normal moves. And then the changes to Exaction squad are nice, but I like this. They're restrained changes. They're not something crazy. I guess, you know, like my changes probably would have been too crazy considering what they could do, but this is actually a nice change. They're all +1 wound. They get piercing 1, which has actually helped them more. And I like this approach instead of just buffing their ballistic skill. Although the marksman and revelatum really, like the lethal 5-up is nice, but once again, it's just letting you do 1 mortal wound more reliably per attack dice, which is okay. And the dog you still don't take. And the change to execution order is nice. And I like this change overall. It's a nice, you know, restrained change. Onto the bad side. Why did Elucidian Starstriders get buffed? This doesn't make any sense. Like, they have not been underperforming. This is really bizarre. Once again, it feels like someone was just like, I can't win with them anymore. Well, they're doing quite well from like the global events. You know, they're winning. They're doing quite well. They've still got a really high win rate and high usage rate. No, buff them. So we're going to bring back Ceaseless? No, Relentless. Why? Because I miss it. So that's a really confusing one. Like, it doesn't really make any sense. Like, that's just weird. And I see it's going to cause problems because the kill team's still doing well. Like, it's just bizarre. Once again, Gallowpox and Void Dancer Troop didn't get any nerfs because, I don't know, they've bribed everyone. Like, they're just going to be there. Crew didn't get any nerfs, but I didn't expect they would. You know, a lot of people got upset. I suggested Farstalker Kimban nerfs, but remember I suggested Blooded would need nerfs based on the data, but they didn't, you know, like the last balanced data slate before this one. So that's cool. I actually didn't expect Farstalker Kimban to get any nerfs. And it's really weird what they've done with the Gallowful kill teams. And it's also kind of worrying that they've chosen to ignore mentioning Inquisition. So I might do this as a separate video, but we're entering a horrible meta, everyone. This is going to be a horrible 3 months of gameplay. Good news is I've been playing a lot of narrative recently. I did an amazing narrative event that I'm going to cover, and narrative is really fun. So like, you know, it's summer, you know, we've got 3 months. I think the next balanced data slate should be September. Narrative is great. You know, if you like, I'm a changed player. Narrative is really, like, it's genuine. Narrative is really fun. But this meta is going to be horrible because I'll briefly touch on it here. So Felgor's Ravagers and Chaos Cult are way too strong, right? So the main problem is, as you saw with Gallowpox and to an extent Harlequins, melee teams struggle to get in. So to compensate for their lack of ranged power, they get buffed in other ways. And it just looks like, for whatever reason, it's not like Games Workshop doing maliciously. It's actually quite easy to do. They're just overbuffed. Like, melee teams with hardly any ranged output are just overbuffed because they overcompensate for their lack of ranged firepower. And the issue is, especially when you're in a season that has a lot of close combat missions, it's kind of crazy. And effectively, the best 2 kill teams are Felgor's Ravagers and Chaos Cult. and then just behind them is Inquisition. And it's kind of very worrying that GW kind of chose to ignore mentioning Inquisition in the article with them, because they said there wasn't enough data for Felgor's Ravagers, Chaos Cult. There kind of is. But they wanted to wait by that time, which is fine. That's what I expected. But those 3 kill teams all warp the meta in different ways. And the problem is, when we've had a really powerful kill team, it's usually just one. So you've had one powerful kill team at a time kind of warping the meta, so you had ways to play around it. We've got 3 different kill teams warping the meta in 3 different ways. So Felgor's Ravagers are just really, really tough to deal with if you're a dedicated combat force. Chaos Cult are just too good. They have way too many operatives and just overwhelm people. And then Inquisition also deal to a different aspect. They shut down elite kill teams, and they shut down any kill team that has been designed around a key strategic or tactical ploy, which, as people have pointed out, is kind of bad design, and I get that. But for example, there's no way teams like Hierotech can actually beat a good Inquisition player, because they'll never have their tactical regeneration. And once they alpha the reanimation scarab, that kill team has no access to reanimation. Like, they can get a Technomancer, but the Technomancer won't help them in the matchup. And the problem is, we have a lot of kill teams now that just lose on roster selection to Inquisition or Felgor's Ravagers or Chaos Cult, and it's all different kill teams. So you kind of get forced into this weird meta. So this is going to be a horrible 3 months. And it's like, am I upset? Yeah, but it's like, I knew this was going to happen because, GW don't change things and like that too soon, right? To be fair, like, if you're upset about them not having any changes, they are too new to release. I was trying to warn this, but I don't think we're going into a good meta. I think we're going into a quite horrible meta. Like, honestly, if you remove the Gallo Fall, if you remove Felgor's Ravagers, Inquisition, and Chaos Cult, we'd actually be in a great meta right now. Honestly, we would be one of the best metas we've ever had. The last balanced data slate put us in one of the best metas we've ever had. Game was super balanced. Everything was really great. But I think overall, this balanced data slate I've actually find quite bad. But I know it's bad for certain reasons, but it's just really mystifying. Like, the changed, like, I keep bringing it up, but giving the rotor cannon Relentless instead of Ceaseless, like, I would have been fun going like, oh, Ceaseless, yeah, that makes sense, it needs something. Relentless, a provingly problematic mechanic for a kill team that's doing really well after its nerfs. Very dangerous signs there. And once again, Harlequins and Gallopux being ignored, very strange. Very, very strange. These are kill teams that are just overperforming for months. It's really weird. And then, yeah. But I really like the good stuff we had. Like, it's really great. But I think at this time, we've had so much bad stuff offsetting stuff. Yeah, we're going into a bad meta, guys. But yeah, to cut it short, that's pretty. Really like the good changes. Bad changes are very worrying, and we're going into a horrible meta. So, the next 3 months is going to be fun if you play competitively in tournaments. It's going to be great. It's not like we have several major international tournaments happening in this time. So that's great. I mean, you've only got Warhammer World, Nova, I think 2 US Opens, a Spanish major, London GT. There's probably tons of events I'm missing, but I'm sure it'll be fine. But yeah, before I go, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of this balanced data slate. Do you like it, hate it? Let me know. I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts. And remember, I've got Discord you can check out in the episode description below, as well as an affiliate link to Element Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. So I'll quickly shout out my patrons. So for my adepts of the crit, we have Sam, Nicholas, Nick, Mr. Meatswad, Kenzie, John Thomas, Eric, Captain Murder, Dad of Goldens, Ben, Average Joe 27, Arthur, and then for my veterans of the crit, Samja. So thank you for all the support. It really means a lot to me and helps support the channel out. So thank you so much. But yeah, I'm so tired. Like, literally, I woke up after a night shift. My hair's a mess. And, well, at least I know now I know what I can do for the rest of the week. This is great. I mean, yay. I now have to pick a team I want to play for the next 3 months. And it's really, really depressing. Generally, narrative is great. I really love narrative kill team. But I'm going to figure out all of that. So until next time, no matter what the balanced data slate does to your faction, remember, there's always a hope as long as you can roll a crit.